So here we are. We're going to make the program for the PS800, the Juki PS800, which sews shapes and then has a second auxiliary cutter that cuts around the outside of the fabric. So we've opened the file through here. This file is created through any DXF CAD system. Save it in millimeters because this program here reads it in millimeters. Juki provides a software package for a CAD system and then the software package to write the program. This big blue line rectangle on the outside, when I made my drawing, I gave myself what the sewing field should be. That way I know where my pieces are relative to the clamp system that we're making. So at this point I don't need that, so I'm going to just delete that section. Up here with the layer 1 and layer 2s, when you do the sequence of actual sewing and cutting, it's going to do layer 1 first, then layer 2. So we want to change it. So right now, layer 1 is the, if you look at this drawing here, the blue line is the stitch line, the black line on the outside is the cut line, right? So if you looked at layer 1, that's going to be the black line. So we need to change that. Otherwise, it'll do the cut first before sewing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to group everything together here. And let's see. More options. So I'm in layer 1, which is the cutting. More options. I've got both patterns here. I'm selecting all. I'm putting all the shapes together. Okay. And then this here, we're going to need to change that. And we'll change that in a bit. Let's see, we could do the reverse. Okay, let's exit out of here. Let's change this. So this edit shape, I'm going to reverse that and see this little green arrow here. So I want to go in this direction and start here. And this one here, I'm going to change that as well. And in reverse so that it goes this way and cuts around. Then I'm going to take this whole setup and I'm going to make this layer a new layer. That's layer 1. So I'm going to change this. Change this layer. Okay. So if I look at this now, this is the blue line, which was the stitch, and this is the black, well, it's red here now, but it's a kind of new layer, but that's the cutting. If I show both together, you'll see the blue line is on the inside, and the red line is on the outside. Blue is this, in our case here, blue is the stitch. So now I'm going to take the stitch line, and I'm going to lump all of these together. So I'm right-clicking here for more options. I've got everything. I'm going to select all and then put all the shapes together. Okay. Okay, I'm going to need to change this. So let's start with this section here on edit shape, because I got to change this arrow to the opposite side. All right, change this one, edit shape. That's okay, the arrow's there. This needs to get changed so that I'm all going in the same direction, and then I can unify that. Okay, let's go back to more options. And you see now I just have the one arrow and everything's been unified. Selecting all, everything's all together. And you see the green arrow here coming around this way and the green arrow here going in that direction. So now again, I'm looking at the whole thing, and I basically start here, come here, and then we're going to change the sewing head basically to the cutter and do the outside cut shapes. Okay, so we've got our drawing cleaned up a little bit. Let's look at something here on the default instruction set to make sure that this is right. Usually, needle 1, have needle 2. Needle 1 is already built into the system, so that's okay. Needle 2, though, this is the cutting, right? So this default information should be there. Okay, if it's not, the outside material cutter is not going to work. This is the open rotate, because on this particular one we have the rotary knife. So open rotate, we've got a delay so that after it finishes cutting and it lifts off, we give it a bit of a delay. So we have a delay at the beginning and delay at the end of the 3 outputs, which control the outside knife. So you need to make sure that this instruction set is here, and you'll see why in a little bit. So we're going to start with layer 1, okay? And I'm going to do layer setting, because layer 1 is the stitch, remember? And so here, we're going to change this to needle 1, because needle 1 is the sewing needle. We're going to click these two here. This is the stitch length. And I'm just going to change this to 3.2. And we're going to have, this is the backpack at the beginning and a backpack at the end. Okay, and we're going to hit OK, and you'll see all these little lines here. And that's basically telling you what the stitch is. Now we're going to go to the next one, layer 2, and layer setting, and that's going to change to needle 2. Needle 2 is the cutting, so where it cuts the fabric. We're outputting, we don't need to do anything here. And that's where we are at that point. When we click this operation button, you're going to see this is needle 1. Remember, needle 1 is the stitching, so it's moving to shape 1, and there's the delays and stuff that is appropriate. That's already built in. And this is the shape, and if you move down, the green one is layer 2, which is where it's cutting. So you have the open rotate, so the rotary knife is going to rotate to position to give you nice round curves. All right, and then we're okay at this point, so I'm just going to save this. Okay. If I want to save this file, I can save that here. And then, so this operational file here that you've saved, you would save it to a thumb drive and then bring it to the sewing machine. Now let's just say you need to edit something. You need to move the pattern left to right, front to back, wherever the case is. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to backtrack all these commands that I had here. So we're just going to do operation back. And we get back to this position. Okay? And then I'm just going to start with, let's say we want to move the whole thing. Well, okay, it's going to take this one first, and I'm going to move this. Here's the jump size, and I can move this. Wherever I want at that point. And then I can move the next one. So that's how you would move the patterns. And you have the ability to kind of select everything here. It just gets a little tricky. But that's how you can move the patterns front to back with these arrows here. All right. And so ends the quick review of how to get a program together.